guys, you're welcome back to my channel, OJ's Apparel. In today's class, we'll be learning how to draft our basic bodice pattern. So if you have your tools, then let's get started. So from the beginning of our pattern paper, we are going to mark out 1 inch, and that 1 inch we're marking out on both sides of our pattern paper is going to start as our starting line. It's going to serve as our starting line. So go ahead and roll that line across, and every measurement to be taken will be starting from that point. So from the edge of the pattern paper, we are taking down our shoulder measurement divided by 2. Mine is 7.5, and then from that point go down by 1 inch, and that is just going to help you get your shoulder slope. So from the point where my tape is placed, I'm taking out my neck width, which is 3.5, and my neck depth, which is 3 inches. So it depends on what you want, guys. So how high or how low you want yours. So this is just a basic neckline. So with the help of your pattern master, you draw your curve. But if you do not have a pattern master, just go ahead and use the dotted line method like you see me doing. Okay, so whichever one that works for you guys. So after drawing out our neckline, we are going to connect the 1 inch we took down from our shoulder measurement to form our neck slope, our shoulder slope, sorry guys. So from the beginning of that point, that's the highest point of our shoulder, I'm taking down my bust point, which is 10.5, my under bust, which is 13.5, my half length, which is 16 inches, and my blouse length, which is 18 inches. So if you have your own measurements, just go ahead and impute your own measurements. So yeah, this is me imputing the same measurement at the other end of my pattern paper, because I want to have an accurate horizontal line. So I am just extending those lines across. So just go ahead and do the same thing you see me doing. Draw out those lines and label them. Label them because that way you won't get confused. So my first line is going to serve as my bust line or my bust point. The second one will serve as my under bust. The third one is my half length. The fourth one is my blouse length. So next I'm going to do is get my armhole measurement. And to get your armhole measurement, you have to divide your bust point by 6 plus 1.5. So when you do that, you get your accurate armhole measurement. So yeah, I've done that, and I am drawing out that line. So do the same thing you see me doing. All right, and extend your lines. So after we do this, we'll connect our armhole line to our chest line. So that line is going to serve as our chest line. Yeah, so draw a straight line and connect your armhole line to your chest line. So next is to divide that line we have by 2. So an easy way to do that is to just fold your tape like so to get the midpoint. Mark it down. Mark down your midpoint, and then you go in by 0.5 inch. That is half of an inch. All right, and mark it down. And then you divide your bust point by 4 now. So from that point, you impute what your bust point divided by 4 is. Put down that point, and then with the help of your pattern master, you just go ahead and connect. But like I always say, if you do not have your pattern master, use the dotted line method and connect it. But I have my pattern master here, so I am going to be using my pattern master to connect that line. Yeah, see how easy that is. So that is that. Next, we're going to do is to get our dart. So in order for us to achieve our dart, we have to take the distance between our nipple to nipple. So nipple to nipple measurement, if you take that, you divide it by 2. So mine is 7.5 divided by 2 plus half an inch for joining. So just go ahead, that I'm inputting 4 inches. All right, that's my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 plus half an inch. Then from my bust point, I went down by 1 inch, and then from my blouse length, I'm going in and out by 0.5 inch, and then I'm going to connect that 1 inch I went down by to that 0.5 inch, and that is it, guys. Very easy. So we just got our that. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and take our body measurement. So from our bust point, you take your bust point divided by 4, mark it down. You take your half length divided by 4, you mark it down. That's the circumference of your half length. You mark it down, and then you add that 1 inch that you took for your dart. Just take how much take the distance you took for your dart and include it. So there I have 1 inch, so I'm adding the 1 inch to my half length. So go ahead and add that 1 inch to your half length as well. Just do what you see me doing if you're confused, guys. Okay, and then I am going to connect those points now. So go ahead and connect those points. Yeah, like so. And that is it, guys. So after that, you go ahead and include your seam allowance. So as a beginner, I would advise you use at least 1.5, so that way you have enough allowance just in case you make a mistake or you make a mistake with your measurements, you would have enough to fall back on. So there I have added my seam allowance and I have connected it to my armhole, and this is going to serve as my front pattern. So this is it, guys. I am just labeling everything I've done just so you guys won't get confused. So that is my seam allowance right there, that is my dart, and that is it. It's so simple, it's so easy, anyone can do this. If you're a beginner, just take your time, listen to the instructions, and getting this done will be easy. So what I'm doing right now is just adding 0.5 inch on my shoulder, and that is just going to serve as my shoulder allowance. So it's always good to do this, that way when sewing and joining your shoulder, your dress or your top won't be shorter than the actual measurement you took. So what we're going to do next is just cut. So take your time and see the parts I'm cutting out so you don't make a mistake. So just cut out gently on so cut out carefully so you don't cut past what you're supposed to cut. So here I have my back pattern, a fresh new pattern paper, which I'm going to be using to draft out my back pattern. So I am doing exactly the same thing I did for the front, our starting line, and then from that point I am marking 2 inch, and this is just going to serve as our zipper allowance. So go ahead and mark your 2 inch and label that as a zip allowance. So every measurement you take will start from that point. So from there I am taking my neck width. Remember, guys, your neck width for your front and your back pattern needs to be the same, but your neck depth can differ. So however you want your neck depth to be, it's fine, but your neck width for your front and your back pattern needs to be the same. So you can go ahead and connect with your pattern master like you did for the front, or you can use this method as well, just in case you do not have a pattern master. You draw your square and connect it this way. So I decided to use two different ways so you guys can see. Then here I'm also imputing my neck, my shoulder measurement divided by 2, just like how I did for my front. And I am imputing my bust point, my under bust, my half length, and my blouse length. Remember, you will be making use of your own measurements and not mine, because we all can't have the same measurement. So just make sure you're using your own measurements to impute on your pattern paper. All right, and then you just draw those lines across like you see me doing. Okay, so yeah, I'm labeling them right now. So go ahead and do the same thing just like we did for the front, guys. It's simple, it's easy. I am taking down my shoulder slope and my armhole measurement. It's just exactly the same thing as we did for the front. So always remember, you're taking out the same thing, guys. So the difference so far is just the zip allowance. Okay, so for my back armhole, I just took the midpoint and I connected it to my bust point divided by 4, just like that. But the front, remember I went in by half an inch before connecting. So that's the difference between the front armhole and the back armhole. So what I'm doing right now is taking my body measurement, I'm imputing down those points, and then my dart as well, my nipple to nipple measurement, I'm taking down my 4 inches, and I'm connecting that to my blouse length, and then I'm going in and out by 0.5 just like I did for the front, and I am connecting it, all right, like so. Yeah, so next I am taking my half length measurement divided by 4. I'm imputing that down, and I'm adding that 1 inch I took for my dart. I'm also imputing that down before connecting it. So like I said, it's the same thing like we did for the front. So an easier way to do this is actually to just place your front pattern on your back pattern and cut it out. But as a beginner, it's always best to do this. That way you won't use the easier way out and you'll know how to draft out your back pattern as well. All right, so just always do this. Your seam allowance, label your parts so you don't get confused. Your seam allowance needs to be the same allowance you added for the front. So yeah, this is all. This is it. Very simple, very easy. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in our next class.